After 15 years of marriage, I found out my son isn't mine. There's a moment right after your world collapses where everything feels oddly quiet, still, like the silence after a car crash when your brain hasn't caught up yet, but your body knows something's gone terribly wrong. For me, that moment came in the form of a lab report, 4 bland pages printed in black and white, delivered to my work inbox on a Thursday morning. I shouldn't have opened it there. I should have waited until I got home, until I was alone. But curiosity got the better of me. Or maybe it was something deeper, something already cracking under the surface. The subject line read, "Paternity Results, Confidential." The results? Simple. Probability of paternity, 0.00%. My hands went cold, my stomach flipped, and somewhere inside me, a part of who I was just shut off. My name's Daniel. I'm 42. I've been married to my wife Rachel since we were both 27. We met at a friend's barbecue, and I knew within a week that I wanted to marry her. She had this easy laugh and a kind of warmth that made everything feel calm, safe, stable. I'd never had that before. We got married a year later, bought a small house in Indiana, had a son, Caleb, 2 years into the marriage. He was born on a rainy Monday morning just after 4 a.m. I remember cutting the cord and thinking, this is it. This is everything. For 13 years, I've raised that boy. Soccer games, bedtime stories, helping him with math homework I didn't understand myself, watching Pixar movies, listening to him talk about dinosaurs, staying up late when he had the flu, holding a cold washcloth to his forehead. He calls me Dad, and up until last week, I would have sworn on my life that I was. So how did I end up reading a DNA report at my desk, hands shaking, heart pounding, mouth dry? It started small. Rachel and I were going through a rough patch. Nothing dramatic, just the usual 15-year marriage wear and tear. Less talking, more sighing, fewer date nights. She was more distracted. I chalked it up to stress. She worked in finance. I ran a plumbing business. We had different schedules, different rhythms. But then came a family joke at a party. Harmless at first. My sister held up a photo of Caleb when he was 6 and laughed. Still wild to me how that kid doesn't look a thing like Dan. People chuckled. I smiled. But something about the way Rachel tensed beside me, how her laugh came half a second too late, how she grabbed her wine glass like it was a lifeline. Something about that moment stuck. That night, lying in bed, I replayed it over and over. The timing, the tone, the tension, and for the first time in 13 years, I let a thought in that I'd always slammed the door on before. What if? It took me 3 weeks to work up the nerve. I bought one of those discreet home kits online, swabbed my cheek, swabbed Caleb's, mailed it in like I was sending off a bomb I didn't want to go off. And then I waited. Until Thursday. Until that email. 0.0%. No biological relationship. 13 years. Gone in 4 numbers. I didn't say anything that night. Or the night after. I went through the motions like a robot. Ate dinner. Watched TV. Tucked Caleb in. Listened to Rachel talk about her day like she hadn't detonated my reality. I watched her carefully, wondering if she could see the change in me, if she noticed the crack forming in the dam. But she didn't. She kissed me goodnight and rolled over like everything was normal. It wasn't, and I wasn't sure how long I could pretend it was. The next morning, I sat across from Rachel at the kitchen table, watching her spread strawberry jam on toast like it was any other Friday. It was surreal. How do you sit across from someone who's smiling at you, making casual small talk, when you know they've been lying to your face for over a decade? When you know the son you've raised together isn't even yours? And she's known that the whole time? I couldn't say it. Not yet. I wasn't ready. So I smiled. I nodded. I said, "Yeah, I think we need more eggs," like some kind of coward. My hands were sweating, my heart was pounding, and I was pretending to care about eggs. She kissed me goodbye before heading off to work. I stood at the door and watched her drive away, then walked straight back inside and opened the old filing cabinet in the garage. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for, but I found it. Tucked in the back of an old folder labeled Medical was a discharge summary from the hospital where Caleb was born. I remembered keeping it because I'm the type of guy who holds on to documents just in case. Under Father Present at Birth, it said Daniel Rowe. But under Father, Biological Information Provided, it said N.A., no name, no data, just a dash. I must have missed it back then, too caught up in the magic of becoming a dad. Or maybe I just trusted her. My hands were shaking as I closed the folder. That night, I sat on the porch with a beer and watched the neighborhood kids ride bikes down the street, screaming and laughing like kids do. Caleb used to do that. Every evening when he was 8, he'd ride circles around our driveway yelling, "Dad, watch this," like he was doing backflips, not wobbly figure eights. My son. No, not my son. And yet, every memory I had said otherwise. I was spiraling. I called my buddy Nate. We've known each other since high school. I didn't tell him everything, just asked if he remembered Rachel ever hanging out with anyone around the time we started dating. He paused. "You mean, besides you?" "Yeah." Another pause. Then he said it. "Well, there was that one guy, Mike." My stomach dropped. "Mike who?" "Mike Barlow, I think. He was around for a bit. Older than us, real smooth talker. Used to show up at parties in that beat-up red truck." I hadn't thought about Mike Barlow in years. He was one of those local guys who never left town, always had a story, always had a drink in his hand. He also used to flirt with Rachel, back when we were still just dating. My voice was dry. "You think they—" Nate hesitated. "I remember hearing rumors, nothing solid, but yeah, man, people talked." I didn't sleep that night. I kept hearing Rachel's voice in my head, her laugh, the way she used to look at me when I'd carry Caleb on my shoulders at the beach, her quiet "I love yous" in the dark before bed. Were they all lies? Or was I just now realizing I'd only ever been given half the story? Saturday morning, I made a choice. While Rachel was out running errands, I sat down and asked Caleb if I could talk to him. He was 13, old enough to understand something was wrong, too young to grasp just how deep the damage went. I didn't tell him everything. I didn't want to shake his world more than I already had. I just asked if he'd ever noticed anything different about me and him. He looked confused. "Like what?" "Like how you don't look like me, or how we don't have the same last name on some school forms." He shrugged. "I don't know. I figured that was normal." I smiled, tried to keep my voice steady. "You ever ask Mom about it?" He hesitated. "Once? A while ago?" "What did she say?" He looked away. "She said not to worry about it." That was the moment I knew. She'd always known, and she'd decided I didn't deserve the truth. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't some one-time drunken thing she regretted. It was a choice. Every single day for 15 years, she'd chosen silence over honesty. And now it was time to make a choice of my own. She knew the second she walked in the door. You ever watch someone's face fall in real time? It's not dramatic like in the movies. It's subtle. Her eyes flicked to the table, saw the open folder, the printed lab results, and the photo of Caleb from when he was 2, the one I always kept in my wallet, sitting right next to it. Rachel froze. I was standing in the kitchen, hands clenched on the back of a chair, trying to stay calm. "Sit," I said. She didn't move. I said sit. She walked slowly to the table and lowered herself into the chair like it might collapse under her. She didn't say a word. I slid the folder toward her. "You want to explain this?" She didn't even open it, just stared at it, then stared at me, and said quietly, "You weren't supposed to find out." That was it. Not "I'm sorry," not "let me explain," not "it's complicated," just You weren't supposed to find out." I think I blacked out for a second, not literally, but emotionally, like my brain couldn't fully absorb what she'd just said. I was expecting denial, or tears, or some long-winded justification. What I got instead was honesty served so cold it didn't even feel real. "How long have you known?" I asked. Her voice was flat. "Since he was born." Jesus Christ, Rachel. I had to get up. I paced the kitchen, hands in my hair, trying not to lose it. "So you knew this entire time, and you let me raise him, love him. You let him call me Dad. You let me believe." I stopped myself, choking on the words. "I did what I thought was best," she said. "You thought lying to me for 15 years was best?" She looked up then, finally showing something that resembled emotion. "I didn't plan it this way, Dan." I turned on her. "Oh, really? Because it kinda looks like you made a decision and then just hoped I'd never find out." She was silent. "Was it Mike Barlow?" Her eyes flickered. I knew I was right. "That's who the father is?" She nodded, just once. "Let me explain something. I'm not a violent man, never have been. But when I heard that name come out of her mouth, I swear something primal flared up in me. I had shaken that man's hand at a cookout. I'd stood next to him once, flipping burgers, while Caleb kicked a soccer ball across the yard. That man had looked me in the eye and asked how business was going. The whole damn time he knew, and so did she. I sat down, looked her dead in the face. "Do you love him?" She shook her head immediately. "No, it was one time." 15 years ago?" "Yes." "You've been faithful since?" She hesitated. "Too long, and that was all I needed. I didn't blow up. I didn't throw anything. I didn't scream. I just said, 'Get out.'" She blinked. "Dan?" "No, you don't get to talk. You don't get to cry. You don't get to apologize. You get out." "But Caleb is my son until I say otherwise." That stunned her. She opened her mouth, then closed it. And she left. No suitcase, no overnight bag. Just grabbed her keys and walked out the door. I collapsed into the kitchen chair, shaking. I wasn't okay. I don't know if I'll ever be okay. I sat there until midnight, staring at that folder, at the boy in the photo, the one with the crooked smile and scraped knees and the Marka One Dad mug he gave me for Father's Day last year. And all I could think was, what the hell do I do now? Because here's the thing, I still love that kid. And no DNA test is going to make that go away. It took me 3 days to work up the nerve. 3 days of silence in a house that felt hollow. Rachel was gone, staying at her sister's apparently. She tried texting once. I didn't respond. I didn't even read it. Caleb knew something was off. He's 13, old enough to read tension in the walls, the silence at dinner, the way a father stares at nothing for too long. On the 4th night, I knocked on his bedroom door. He was sitting at his desk, half playing a video game, half looking over a math worksheet he clearly wasn't touching. He turned around slowly when I came in. "Hey," I said. "Mind if I sit?" He nodded. I sat on the edge of the bed. My hands were clenched, my chest tight. I'd rehearsed it 100 times and still didn't know where to start. "Your mom and we've hit a rough patch," I said. He looked down. "I figured." I cleared my throat. "There's something I need to tell you. It's not easy, and it might sound strange, but I need you to hear it from me." His eyes met mine. Curious. Quiet. I took a breath. "I found out something about us, about me and you." He didn't move. "You know how sometimes we joke that you don't really look like me?" He gave a nervous laugh. "Yeah." "Well, there's a reason for that." He stopped smiling. I felt like I was watching his childhood slip away, frame by frame, word by word. "I did a DNA test, just to check something, and it turns out..." I swallowed. "Biologically, I'm not your father." Silence. It stretched on like an open wound. He blinked, his mouth opening just a little. but no sound came out. "I didn't know," I said quickly. "Not until last week. I had no idea, Caleb. None. And I need you to understand something." I leaned forward. "You're still my son. Nothing about that changes for me. I've loved you every day of your life. I've been there for your first steps, your first words, your nightmares, your soccer games, your dumb little school plays. I've been your dad, and I always will be, if you still want me to be." His voice was barely a whisper. "So, who is?" I didn't want to answer that. I really didn't. But I owed him the truth. "Someone your mom knew before we got married. His name is Mike. You've met him before, but that's not what matters right now." Caleb sat back, his eyes glossy. He didn't cry. He didn't yell. He just looked broken, like the floor beneath him had disappeared. "Did Mom lie?" he asked. I nodded. "She did? And she never told you?" "No." He looked away. "Why would she do that?" I didn't have a clean answer. I still don't. That night, he slept in my bed. Didn't say a word, just climbed in next to me like he was 6 years old again. I didn't ask why. I didn't need to. I just held him until he fell asleep. 1 month later, Rachel and I sat in a lawyer's office. Quiet, cold. The divorce was mutual. She didn't fight. Didn't ask for the house. We split custody of Caleb, but something shifted. He chose to stay with me most weeks. She didn't push back. She knew. She knew what she'd done. I never spoke to Mike. I don't plan to. I don't care if he wants a relationship with Caleb. It won't happen. Not while I have a say in it. Because blood doesn't make a father. Time does. Sacrifice, love, consistency, showing up. I've shown up every day of that kid's life. And I'm not stopping now. Epilogue. 6 months later, Caleb asked if he could start calling me Dad again. I told him he didn't have to stop. Not ever. We're figuring it out. It's messy. It's not the life I thought I'd have. But it's real. And honestly, that's enough.